This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next hour. Thanks for the ride, mate, says Chandrayaan-3 moon mission's lander as it separates from the propulsion module, moving a step closer to a soft landing on the moon. Defence chiefs from the West African bloc, ECOWAS, meet, say ready to intervene militarily in Niger if diplomatic efforts to reverse a coup fails. Evacuations continue as massive wildfires approach the northern Canadian city of Yellowknife. The country is enduring its worst ever wildfire season. Manchester City has won the UEFA Super Cup, defeating Sevilla. City boss Pep Guardiola adds another feather to his cap after completing a historic treble. India's Chandrayaan-3 is on track to successfully land on the moon's surface next week. Its lander module detached from its propulsion module today, bringing the nation one step closer to a landmark moment. Sagnik Chakravarti gets us more.
A milestone moment for India's moon mission. The Indian Space Research Organisation successfully separating Chandrayaan-3's lander module from the spacecraft's propulsion module before continuing its journey to the moon. The lander, Vikram, and rover Pragyan are now expected to reach the surface next Wednesday, when ISRO hopes it will be a smooth landing. Chairman S. Somnath says the organisation is then planning to release fresh images.
We have a higher probability of soft landing than that was existing in Chandrayaan-2. That's the essence of what I said about it. Right. So even with the two-engine failure, we will still be able to land this time. We have made sure that capacity exists, the algorithms are capable of handling it, and we designed the whole process even with two-engine. Now it will continue to send the pictures during the landing process. We will be able to get them immediately in our control center, but we will release it based on various evaluations.
Once on the ground, the rover will move across the moon's surface carrying out experiments. With the latest phase complete, the countdown for touchdown now commences, and if successful, will make India the fourth nation to achieve a controlled moon landing. Sagnik Chakravarti reporting for DD India.
My colleague Aisha Khanam joins us live from Bangalore to discuss more about this huge development. A big first, Aisha. Now, you spoke to ISRO chief. In fact, you have been talking to all the ISRO scientists, especially the team itself. What are the preparations now for the soft landing on 23rd, and how upbeat is the mood?
Well, ISRO is jubilant, and the excitement is as, about 4 lakh kilometer, which is a journey that Chandrayaan has completed from Earth to Moon orbit. And ISRO is now planning to do the crucial maneuvers which will land the Vikram lander on 23rd August on the surface of the Moon. And this will be very interesting because ISRO will now, from tomorrow onwards, will look at de-orbiting, de-boosting the speed, and also trying to control the thrusters so that the landing is soft. And now with this mission, ISRO is confident about the fact that ISRO has given enough margins for any errors. If at all they occur, it will be absorbed within these margins. And also the landing surface area has been increased, the diameter has been increased. So when lander Vikram lands on the surface of the Moon, it will know precisely the position that it is landing on. And also the strong sensors that it has, it will automatically detect any hurdle which comes its way. So these are the precautions that ISRO has taken, since ISRO says that this is a failure-based module, because they have got enough feedback from Chandrayaan-2, and now the ISRO scientists are confident that this soft landing...
So the lapses during Chandrayaan-2, they've ensured that are not repeated this time around, Aisha.
Absolutely. The ISRO scientists are very confident about the fact that even if two engines fail to function, the landing will be soft as decided. And also the software systems are upgraded, the algorithms are upgraded, the artificial intelligence systems are upgraded in this entire module. So lander will reach the moon surface, and then the little rover will, take a walk on the surface of the moon. This rover is a small, tiny robo, which is about 25 to 26 kgs, and this is loaded with some payloads, and it will conduct crucial experiments, scientific experiments on the surface of the moon. So ISRO's technology, ISRO's meticulous planning of this mission gives confidence to the scientists that August 23rd will be another milestone in ISRO's history, and this will put India in the big league, and
Yes.
India will be the fourth nation to achieve landing, the soft landing on the south pole of the moon, which not many countries have achieved success.
Yes, and with that, it also will underline India's ability to handle heavy payloads, Aisha. Well, thank you very much for joining us live from Bangalore. We appreciate you joining us. And now let's quickly move on to the other big stories, also shifting focus to Russia-Ukraine. Global food security seems to be in danger following a series of drone attacks on grain silos and warehouses at the Danube River port. The US has condemned the attacks, while NATO has promised to back Ukraine until it wins the war.
Global food security is in danger. Russia has again carried out overnight strikes on Ukrainian grain silos and warehouses at a Danube River port. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russian strikes could further destabilize food prices.
Each Russian strike against them is a blow to world food price, a blow to social and political stability in Africa and Asia. Basic things that provide a normal life to every society. It is food on the table in household. No other terrorist in the world apart from Russia has ever so openly and intentionally targeted the security of so many nations at once.
The United States has also condemned the strikes. The State Department pointed the finger at Russia's president.
Putin simply does not care about global food security. Such actions by the Kremlin negatively affect Ukrainian farmers and all those around the world who are most vulnerable to food insecurity. Russia's attacks on Ukrainian port infrastructure facilities have destroyed hundreds of thousands of Ukraine's grain bound for global markets.
The US says it's working to find alternative ways to secure Ukrainian grains exports, and has urged Russia to return to a pact that allowed the export of grains via the Black Sea. Meanwhile, the European Union has reallocated 135 million euros intended for programs in Russia and Belarus. The funds will instead be used to strengthen cooperation with Ukraine and Moldova. Rishabh Sharma for DD India.
Let's quickly go live across to Moscow, from where DD India's Dasha Shenshova joins us for more. Dasha, now renewed attack by the NATO as well as Ukraine. Let's take a look at the report filed by Dasha first.
Well, as things do stand now, we are waiting for the decisions in the West to allow Russia to get back to the grain deal, the Black Sea Grain Initiative, because Moscow has been saying for weeks and months now that all the decisions on Russia's rejoining the Black Sea Grain Initiative do depend on the implementation of the Russia-UN memorandum, and particularly the 5 conditions that Russia has introduced to participate in this Black Sea grain deal. So certainly these decisions, according to Moscow, are dependent on the Western countries that, from the Russian point of view, have been reluctant to implement those. This is the reconnection of Russia's Bank to the SWIFT payment system. This is the restoration of the freight and the insurances for the Russian vessels that are carrying grain. None of this has actually been meeting any progress, and Russia says once those issues are actually implemented, then Moscow will be rejoining the Black Sea grain deal. But at At the moment, we understand Moscow sees no reason, no ground to get back to these arrangements, saying that the Western countries simply are not doing anything to meet those demands, while only profiting from the commercial benefits that they are receiving from the Ukrainian part of the deal that has been implemented in full. But Russia says only this part has been implemented, and that's why the decision not to extend the Black Sea grain deal beyond the 17th of July has been taken in Moscow.
Moving on, in a move to promote green mobility, Cabinet has approved the PM E-Bus Seva scheme. Let's find out more about the initiative in this report.
In a big boost to the eco-friendly mass transport system in urban India, the government has given a green signal to the PM E-Bus Seva initiative. It will enhance city bus operation by introducing 10,000 electric buses under a public-private partnership model. The initiative comes with an estimated cost of Rs 57,613 crore with a substantial 20,000 crore support from the central government. This scheme assures successful bus operation for a decade.
This will create not only buses, but it will create huge new jobs. So it may be direct employment of around 45,000 to 55,000 numbers in this industry, and obviously this is going to reduce a lot of carbon footprint, and India will become more self-reliant after developing such kind of buses in terms of dollars and euros, which goes in the other countries for buying our crude oils. So our dependency on buying of crude oils will also reduce.
The scheme will also help in generating direct employment. With around 10,000 e-buses set to take the roads, the scheme is projected to create an impressive 45,000 to 55,000 direct job opportunities.
This will not only help us to start this bus production, this will increase our transport ways of the transport for the public, and we will have more dependency on transport, this public transport, instead of running our own vehicles.
Divided into two key segments, the scheme's segment A will focus on enhancing city bus services. 169 cities will get benefit from it. Under the segment B, the Green Urban Mobility Initiative will provide greener urban landscapes. As the wheel of change turns, the PM E-Bus Seva scheme stands as a testament to India's commitment to sustainable progress. This is more than a mere transportation revolution. It's a powerful stride towards a future that is brighter, cleaner, and more inclusive. Taposh Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
Lawmakers in Thailand will gather for a third time next week to vote on the country's next prime minister and also try to end the ongoing political gridlock. It comes after the Constitutional Court rejected a petition challenging Parliament's decision to bar Move Forward party leader Pita Limjaroenrat Entrat from being renominated. Patrick Falk reports.
Well, simply put, whether or not the selection of Thailand's next Prime Minister will be complete will depend on the parliamentary session that's taking place next week. Those are the words of Thailand's House Speaker, somewhat stating the obvious, you might say, but that is where things stand right now. There is a bit of a question mark as to whether or not the Pheu Party can get the support it needs from the 750-member Joint Assembly. As we know, Move Forward has already said that it won't be backing its former coalition partners. But there's also uncertainty about whether or not the Senate will support Pheu either. There is bad blood between the military-backed Senate and Pheu. Remember, the military removed the Pheu governments in 2006 and 2014. So it's not an absolute certainty that the Pheu Party will get the support that it needs from the Senate, but one would have to imagine that Thailand senators understand what's at stake, and prolonging this political gridlock will have negative ramifications for the country, and it will also further undermine Thailand's democratic system.
Still to come on DT India News Hour. Over 70 people killed during relentless rain and landslides in India's northern state of Himachal Pradesh. And first ever WHO Traditional Medicine Summit gets underway as part of the G20 Health Deputies meeting in India's Gandhinagar.
Namaskaram from Telangana, India's youngest state, a rising star.
You're watching TT India News Hour and I'm Sakal Bhatt. Let's move on and take a look at other stories making news at this hour. Indian President Draupadi Murmu launched the 6th ship of the Project 17A frigates Vindhyagiri in Kolkata in the Indian state of West Bengal. The warships are follow-ons of the Project 17 class frigates with improved stealth features, advanced weapons and sensors and platform management systems. The Vindhyagiri is named after the mountain range in the Indian state of Karnataka. India's Minister of Communications Electronics Ashwini Vaishnav today announced detailed about reforms undertaken for telecom sector. The minister said that government has so far detected and deactivated 52 lakh connections that were obtained fraudulently, while 67,000 dealers of SIM cards have been blacklisted. India's Bharatiya Janata Party has released its initial candidate list for assembly polls in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Party announced the names of 21 candidates for Chhattisgarh and 39 candidates for Madhya Pradesh. In a first-of-its-kind move, a World Health Organization Traditional Medicine Summit was inaugurated today during the G20 Health Deputies meeting. The three-day summit in the Indian state of Gujarat is expected to shape the future of global healthcare through the use of traditional medicine practices. India's Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia met the WHO chief on the sidelines of the gathering, where research, innovation, digital health and biodiversity is being discussed.
I believe this global summit will provide a unique opportunity for us to engage in dialogue, exchange of ideas, foster collaboration and establish international partnership to advance the agenda of traditional medicine and to work together toward promoting and leveraging the potential of traditional healthier practices worldwide.
India's Minister of Ayush, Sarbananda Sonowal, has stressed the importance of integrating traditional medicine into the global healthcare agenda. He said that the summit will serve as a useful platform.
This summit signifies the dawn of a new era in healthcare. Our discussion here aims to forge the foundation for a dedicated platform for traditional medicine within the framework of the G20. This visionary platform seeks to foster international collaboration, share best practices and seamlessly integrate traditional medicine into the heart of mainstream healthcare system.
The World Health Organization chief also spoke on the occasion.
India has a rich history of traditional medicine through Ayurveda. That's why WHO is committed to supporting countries to unlock the potential of traditional medicine through Global Traditional Medicine Center in Jamnagar, which I had the honor to launch with His Excellency Prime Minister Modi last year.
Staying with G20, well, India has vowed to be a global leader in the world's digital economy. Kicking off a two-day G20 Digital Innovation Alliance Summit in down south Bangalore, officials said that the startups are increasingly disrupting traditional business practices. In an exclusive interview with DD India, India's Minister of State for Skill Development, Entrepreneurship, Electronics and IT, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, has said that India has come forward to help other countries develop a stronger digital public infrastructure.
To talk about this meet, I have with me the Minister of State for Electronics, Information Technology, Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar. What are the interesting aspects or outcomes do you think in perspective are likely to emerge from here?
Over the last 3 digital economy working groups, there has been a growing consensus, an agreement around DPIs, a conversation that how DPIs, especially open source DPIs, are critical to the future of many countries' digitization ambitions. The focus on safety and trust, which is about cyber security, cyber safety, and third is about skills, that for several decades countries dominated, and we think there is a growing consensus of the need for every country to have access to digital skills, and India is certainly at the forefront of offering.
India recently in the cabinet announced a lot of expansion of Digital India. So how do you see this taking up the digital innovations to a next level?
A person like Sundar Pichai, who is a leader in the tech space, acknowledging in the year 2023 that Prime Minister's vision of digitization, and in a lot of ways it is that investment in policies, that investment in capabilities and capacities that the Prime Minister foresaw, that helped India become one of the leading nations in how we fought the COVID pandemic, how we protected our economy, how we bounced back, how we delivered vaccines. So in a lot of ways India is becoming a case study for the countries of the world.
That was Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar talking to us about a digital economy working group meeting here, and the agenda at this meeting is about firming up the priorities of digital skilling and also building a strong DPI for a global community. With cameraman Balu, Aisha Khanam, DD India, Bangalore.
And now some news on climate front, where wild weather is causing havoc across many parts of the globe. In Canada and Spain, fire crews are grappling to control the spread of wildfires, while in parts of India, flash floods and landslides are causing devastation. Raghav Kumar Jha reports.
Canada is experiencing its worst wildfire season. More than 1,000 active fires are burning across the country. One area near its southwest border with the US is almost entirely ravaged. Canadian officials have ordered the evacuation from the capital of Northwest Territories, Yellowknife. So far, no deaths have been reported, but several structures have been completely destroyed.
There is a possibility that without rain, the fire reaches the outskirts of Yellowknife by the weekend. It is approaching, but there's time to complete the community evacuation. It's being called now so that we can allow people the opportunity to drive while the highway is open. The highway is subject to closures at any time, but it's likely that it'll be open until tomorrow morning. Conditions will be smoky, and residents should drive with caution and care.
Evacuation orders were also issued for Canada's Southern Cathedral Provincial Park. Across the Pacific, in Spain, wildfires are raging there as well. Tenerife continued to burn, while firefighters battle to contain a blaze amidst difficult terrain conditions. Meanwhile, India is facing severe rains in several parts of the country. More than 70 people have died in landslides and flash floods in the northern Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. Thousands of homes have been damaged and at least 2,500 people have been displaced following cloudbursts. India's northwestern state of Punjab is also battered by floodwaters. Raghav Kumar Jha reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, officials in Canada's Northwest Territories have declared a state of emergency as hundreds of wildfires rage across the region. One remote village has been burned to the ground and thousands of people have been told to evacuate. And as DD India correspondent Tony Waterman explains, experts are warning that the wildfire threat is expected to persist through September.
This state of emergency gives officials in the Northwest Territories additional powers to mobilize resources in response to this emergency. And federal authorities have already approved additional assistance, and they have deployed armed forces to help contain the blaze. There are more than 230 active fires burning across the region, some of which are now encroaching on the territorial capital of Yellowknife, which itself declared a preemptive state of emergency on Monday. Now, according to the Canadian public broadcaster, 90% of the remote hamlet of Enterprise has been destroyed, while the mayor of neighboring Hay River has warned her residents that time to escape is running out. Earlier this week, the Canadian military evacuated hundreds of people from the region by helicopter. This has been the worst wildfire season ever in Canada, with parts of all of the country's 13 provinces and territories being hit at least once this summer. More than 13 million hectares have been burned so far, which is the equivalent roughly of 90 Delhis. And the flames have been fueled by drier than normal conditions and record-breaking heat, something scientists say will become the norm due to climate change. Canada's wildfire season, though, runs until October, so another month and a half to go. And experts are warning that the risk will remain above average to well above average in the weeks to come. Tony Waterman in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
In Hawaii, politics has erupted over a decision not to sound warning sirens during last week's deadly wildfire. And the search and rescue operations continue for victims, and hundreds of people are still missing. Here's a report.
The deadliest wildfire in more than a century in modern U.S. history. The death toll continues to rise, reaching 110 on Thursday. Authorities are being blamed for the lack of early warnings that could have avoided many deaths from the disaster.
All right. Hey, if anybody's still out here, it's time to go. If anybody's still out here, it's time to go. It's time to go.
But Maui Emergency Management Chief on Wednesday defended the decision not to sound sirens, saying they are only used to alert people to tsunamis.
Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone Malka. And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire. And so that is the reason why our protocol has been to use WEA and EAS. By the way, I should also note that there are no sirens Malka or on the mountainside where the fire was spreading down.
Relief and rescue operations continue. Only 38% of the disaster area has been searched so far. The death toll is expected to rise as the search expands.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. West African Army chiefs meet in Ghana as Niger standoff continues. Manchester City win their first silverware of the season, needing penalties to overcome Sevilla for UEFA Super Cup.
Welcome to Siliguri and Darjeeling.
You're watching DD India's News Hour and I am Sakal Bhatt. Let's move on and do a quick recap. A major milestone has been reached during India's lunar mission. Chandrayaan-3's lander module has now successfully detached from the spacecraft's propulsion module. Russia has carried out a series of drone attacks on grain silos and warehouses at a Danube River port. World Health Organization Traditional Medicine Summit was inaugurated today during the G20 Health Deputies meeting in the Indian state of Gujarat. Going back to our top story on Chandrayaan mission, we are now joined by former ISRO scientist Manish Purohit and also joined by Dr. Nilesh Desai, Director, Space Center, ISRO. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Let me quickly start with Manish Purohit. Quickly, how do you really see this in terms of this cementing India's humongous cosmic rise?
First of all, congratulations to everyone because we have achieved a big milestone right now. We are heading towards the lunar landing and this is going to change many things. See, already right now we are in talks with JAXA and for their LUPEX mission, the next mission that they are planning for the moon, they want our Vikram lander. They want to use our Vikram lander for the soft landing part. And right now we are very much comfortably confident that we will be able to land our Vikram for Chandrayaan-3 very comfortably and successfully. So this is something, the belief, the conviction that tells a very big message to the international community that right now ISRO has the capabilities and it's not like we have any doubt in our mind and we have that robust infrastructure, we have all that set up in our inventory that is required to take such big decisions, to make big leaps in the space sector, because right now with our new space policy, we are going to venture globally in that big space economy to make our point to be felt there. We need such successful missions.
Okay, now this being, taking that thought forward, Dr. Nilesh, this being a big game changer in terms of India's capability to handle heavy payloads. What do you see? What's the way forward from here for India and its space technology and the way now world is going to look up to India in that space?
Yeah, so thank you very much. As Mr. Purohit said, so considering the India's new space policy, we are now at the threshold of space reforms, and this will go a long way into increasing the confidence in Indian capabilities related to space research and technology, and especially with now our the major rocket launch vehicle Mark 3 LVM3 now establishing itself in the world market. So earlier PSLV had been our main workhorse, but now LVM3 is going to be our major workhorse as far as launch vehicles are concerned. So it has established LVM3 in a big way by this particular mission of Chandrayaan-3, where we could lift around 4,000 kg of payload to this geostationary orbit and then taking it further towards the moon mission or the moon surface. So this has been a very big achievement as far as technology, launch technology is concerned.
Right,
Apart from the spacecraft technology and the propulsion technology also, we have now proven, and we are at the threshold of a very good beginning as far as the space technology is concerned, especially related to interplanetary missions.
All right. Dr. Nilesh, with that, your take on this being India's homegrown mission and lunar homegrown missions that we are likely to see in near future?
Yeah, so as I said, we have used almost all the indigenous technologies for this particular Chandrayaan-3 mission. And whatever flaws were there during the Chandrayaan-2, we have now overcome all of them. And as you have seen today at afternoon 1 o'clock, that with the separation of propulsion module and the lander module, we are all on the way to reaching the moon surface in due course on 23rd August, which will be our D-Day. And that 17 minutes of what JPL used to call it, 17 minutes of terror at 5:47 p.m. in the evening. So this will put India in a big league of nations as far as space research and technology is concerned, and especially, as I mentioned, for the interplanetary missions, and with now the missions like mission to Venus as well as the Mars Orbiter mission 2, which are in the offing, which are already under definition at Space Application Center and ISRO. We are now at the threshold of proving ourselves in interplanetary missions, and that will also give a big boost to the research activity related to astronomy and astrophysics in the country, and overall scientific temperament of the people in the country also.
Right, sir. You know, that point, Manish, this setting the stage for more ambitious, India-driven interplanetary missions.
Yeah, see, actually, right now, ISRO is having one MOU with BARC, and they are working right now on radioisotope thermoelectric generators. You know, our lunar mission will be active for 14 lunar days when the sun is shining. Why? Because when the night sets in there, then we don't have power, access to sunlight, so we don't have power, and these nights are really very cold. So if we have radioisotope heating unit, then we can, enhance the duration, the life cycle of such missions. And when we are moving away from our sun, let's say we are going towards Mars and beyond that, we can't totally depend on sunlight. So this is right now actually happening in ISRO. Right now they are working on it. So this is one part. Other part is if we are able to lift off with heavy payloads, then obviously we can plan for bigger explorations. And our propulsion module is having one payload with the name SHAPE. What's that going to do? That is going to study the electromagnetic radiation, the sunlight of our star that is coming and getting reflected from our atmosphere. So once we are getting those signatures, those are the signatures of life form. And on the exploratory part, ISRO is telling the world that yes, we are enhancing our capabilities on those exploratory stuff.
Yes, Dr. Nilesh, now just to decode it for a viewer to understand the kind of preparations that are underway for the smooth landing on 23rd. And what does this really do as an end product for a common man to really understand this whole space technology and its benefits?
Yes, so first let me explain the basic sequence of events which are going to happen on 23rd August, as I mentioned, which is our D-Day. So right now, this lander module is in 153 by 163 kilometer orbit. From there, in next 6 days, we'll be bringing it down to 100 by 30 kilometer orbit, and this descent will begin from the height of 30 kilometers to touch down on the moon surface. Now, before that, 2 hours before the operation, the descent starts on 23rd August, we will be uploading all the commands, and we will also decide on whether the 23rd August we are in the right position or right time to, if there is something goes wrong that day due to malfunctioning of the system, then we can postpone it to 27th August. So that is the other scenario which we have already programmed and envisaged.
Okay.
In that case, we'll be descending on 27th. But most likely, everything is going fine. So we'll be descending on moon on 23rd August at 5:47 p.m. in the evening. And from the height of 30 kilometer, we'll move to 7.5, then to 6.8, and finally to 800 meter altitude, where the speed of the lander module will almost become zero. And then the actual work start, where the camera images will be taken, be compared with the reference images which we have stored.
Right. So it's a sort of final countdown for 23rd, sir, and the nation of billion, the wishes are there with ISRO scientists, undoubtedly. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us, Dr. Nilesh and also Manish Purohit. Thank you. And now let's move on and get you some more international stories. Update from Niger, where the standoff continues despite the junta hinting that it's ready for talks. The army chiefs of the West African countries have convened a meeting in Ghana on Thursday to chalk out a strategy for a possible military intervention in Niger if diplomacy fails to restore democratic rule in the coup-hit country. DD India's Abhishek Bose has this latest report.
The calm waters of the Niger River are a stark contrast to the ongoing turmoil of the country's politics. As the standoff between the Niger's junta and ECOWAS, the bloc of West African nations, continues, the meeting of West African military chiefs in Ghana is hugely significant for coup-hit Niger. West African bloc says it's ready to intervene militarily in Niger if diplomatic efforts to reverse coup fail.
Let no one be in doubt that if everything else fails, the valiant forces of West Africa, both the military and the civilian components, are ready to answer to the call of duty.
Meanwhile, in an effort to engage with the military regime in Niger, the US has appointed a new ambassador to the country. This comes a day after Russia called for a peaceful resolution of the crisis.
It is a signal of the United States' continued engagement in this situation. It is not a signal of any change in U.S. policy as it relates to the circumstances in Niger. We have been quite clear of what we want to see happen. We want to see President Bazoum and his family released. We want to see the constitutional order in Niger respected.
While ECOWAS defense chiefs are meeting in Ghana, Niger is battling insurgency in the Sahel region bordering Mali and Burkina Faso. At least 17 Niger military troops were killed and over 20 injured in an attack by armed groups. It's the latest in a string of attacks targeting the region, which has become a hotbed of violence by jihadist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. Now the world's eyes remain firmly on Niger since coup leaders took over and removed the country's democratically elected president, with France and the US suspending military operations there. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
And our DD India correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rufai gets us more details.
Well, indeed, we are here at the Ghana Armed Forces, the Burma camp here in Accra, where the military chiefs of ECOWAS are expected to meet. Basically, they are expected to discuss the way forward in terms of the possibility of deploying a standby force to Niger to intervene in the situation where the ousted president is still being detained. Now, ECOWAS, when it met in Abuja last week, said they were actually going to deploy and activate the standby force to intervene in Niger. But there's been some backlash from a lot of quarters. Even we are learning that the African Union is not really in support of a military intervention in Niger as yet. So it remains to be seen what the focus of discussion really would be at this particular meeting of the military chiefs of ECOWAS as to whether a timetable or a timeline would be mapped out as to how the intervention in Niger would take and even when that would happen if the go-ahead is given by the military chiefs. Already we know that Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire have said they will send in their troops to join the standby force to intervene in Niger. Some other countries are on the fence. So this particular crucial meeting is to really rally the whole membership of ECOWAS together for a united front in terms of really going forward if the deployment of the military force in Niger would be done.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Al Hilal's new signing Neymar opens up about his move to Saudi Arabian side, says he's excited to join the league. And the Taj Mahal has a new attraction. The ICC World Cup trophy makes a pit stop at the famous UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Namaskaram from Telangana. India's youngest state. A rising star.
You're watching TT India's News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. A plane crash in Malaysia's Selangor state has claimed lives of 10 people. The victims included passengers and crew members as well as a motorcyclist and a driver who was stuck by the plane. Investigators are trying to work out what caused the crash. In a concerning development, the Afghan Taliban has announced a sweeping ban on all political parties in Afghanistan. The Interim Minister for Justice has stated that the decision stems from the group's belief that political parties have no place within the principles of Sharia law and do not align with the nation's interests. And new data shows an alarming surge in homelessness in the United States. The rise is being attributed to economic challenges and soaring living expenses in the country. The figures reveal an 11% spike in homelessness as compared to the previous year, marking the most pronounced increase since 2007. The second highest rise occurred in 2019 with a 2.7% uptick. Singaporean authorities have seized more than $730 million worth of assets from a foreign gang involved in laundering money from organized crime. The crackdown involved raids across 9 locations, leading to the arrest of at least 10 foreigners. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida departed Tokyo on Thursday to attend a summit with the US and South Korean leaders at Camp David. Kishida says that meeting with US President Joe Biden and South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol on Friday is an opportunity to deepen ties between the three countries. Kishida made his comments before boarding his plane at Tokyo's Haneda Airport.
法の支配 As the international norms built on freedom and openness are shaken, our bilateral relationship with the United States and South Korea, that have been at its strongest, will be the foundation of this historical opportunity to bolster a strategic relationship between the three countries.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has also departed for the summit. The trilateral summit comes amid growing concerns about China's mounting power and North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. The South Korean president has previously raised concerns over these threats.
In order to fundamentally block North Korea's nuclear and missile threats, the Republic of Korea, the United States and Japan must closely cooperate on reconnaissance assets and share North Korea's nuclear weapons and missiles data in real time.
And DD India's Benji Haya gets us this report from Washington, D.C.
The US, South Korea and Japan getting together either on bilateral basis or as part of wider summits. Yoon Suk-yeol was here in Washington, D.C. visiting the White House just a couple of months ago. Months before that, Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, President Biden, of course, last year visited the two nations respectively. And I think tangibly, the nations will want to have some sort of agreement when it comes to a statement on China and on North Korea, potentially some cooperation on, military exercises in that region as well. Expect obviously harsh pushback from both North Korea and China on those fronts. The other thing is to iron out a couple of disagreements. Yes, these three nations are trying to work as allies, but ultimately there are some concerns in Japan and South Korea over some of the Biden administration's more protectionist policies, subsidies for corporations that are investing in renewable energy, for example. And ultimately, this is about putting forward commitments that will last beyond these administrations. All three leaders are aware of the fact that politics is fluid. Things can change, both in the US and Japan and South Korea. These leaders won't be in their posts forever. So this is about putting a stamp on these commitments and trying to make sure, whether it concerns, their economic ties or China or North Korea, that lasts beyond just the next year or two.
Shifting focus to Pakistan, where authorities have apprehended more than 140 people in Punjab province. This a day after a mob torched at least 5 churches and attacked dozens of houses belonging to the local Christian community over the claims of blasphemy. On Wednesday, the provincial capital Lahore became a flashpoint when a violent mob attacked Christian properties and places of worship. Abhishek Bose of DD India has more.
The scars of Wednesday's violence still visible on the streets of Zaranwala in eastern Pakistan. A violent mob vandalized and torched churches and homes of city's Christian minority after 2 people were accused of blasphemy. Locals say the incident has damaged the previously peaceful coexistence between Muslims and Christians in the city.
Relations between us were fine, but they should not have done this act of desecration. Because of this, the situation has deteriorated a lot. Violence and fighting are taking place. Things have been set on fire. Relations have become very bitter now.
Paramilitary forces have been deployed and the entire area has been cordoned off.
The incident that occurred in this city was so bad. People's houses were burned down. 3 or 4 churches were set on fire. Whatever happened could have been settled through negotiations by sitting down together, which did not happen. Now things have reached a stage where rangers have been called in. The entire city is locked down.
Blasphemy is a sensitive topic in Pakistan, and even the mere allegation of having committed the act can trigger violence. The United States expressed deep concern over the violence and urged Pakistan to investigate the incident.
We are deeply concerned that churches and homes were targeted in response to reported Quran desecration in Pakistan. We support peaceful freedom of expression and the right to freedom of religion and belief for everybody. And as we have previously said, we are always concerned of incidents of religiously motivated violence. Violence or the threat of violence is never an acceptable form of expression, and we urge Pakistani authorities to conduct a full investigation into these allegations and call for calm for all of those involved.
Pakistan's caretaker Prime Minister Anwar ul Haq Kakar has condemned the attacks and ordered action against those involved. Pakistani police has launched a probe and arrested around 150 people in connection with the attacks. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
And news coming from India, floral marble located in the heart of India's capital, New Delhi, Amrit Udyan, has been reopened to the public. Visitors can relish the blossoms of summer, but only for a short time. DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj has more.
It's bursting with colour and life in the beating heart of India's capital, New Delhi, an oasis of horticulture and history. The colours are stunning. Amrit Udyan is a floral marvel and a living symbol of India.
Coming here, it felt like all of the stress in my life has been lifted.
Since it was first planted almost 100 years ago, it's been open to the public for just a few weeks every year. Now, for the first time, it will be open to visitors twice, in early spring and summer. And August is a perfect month to see summer flowers at their finest. No matter if it's hot outside, people are determined to see a natural masterpiece. But it's not just the beauty of the flowers that makes the garden special. It's been cultivated and cared for decades by generations of gardeners.
It's totally a green area and very well maintained, and really liking this place.
For many, amid one of the world's busiest cities, it's a heaven of peace.
My heart just felt really peaceful here. The bonsai garden, the musical garden, the fountains here are very well cleaned.
It's very overwhelming, like it's very new, because living in such urban area, it's very different to come here and explore these all flowers and plants.
It actually gives very optimistic vibes to you. You feel very proud to be here to actually witness what your country has been doing.
It is an oasis of calm in an often stressful world.
All of the other different gardens give me different feelings of peace, serenity and zen.
To help answer visitors' questions, an army of volunteers with impeccable knowledge about what grows here and when.
Yeah, here are the number of the flowers here, roses, canna indica, snake plant, also the number of lilies, Asiatic lily, Oriental lily, and the variety of black rose, that is Oklahoma, and green rose is also available here.
The gardens are home to thousands of species of flowers and trees. From the colonial era, when it was first planted, to today's India, this garden's beauty is as powerful as nation's progress.
It's not just the sight of these flowers that's mesmerizing here. It's the smell and also the symbolism. These gardens mirror India's history, and as they have bloomed over the decades, so has India's development. But to understand the beauty here, you have to actually come here and experience it. But hurry up, these gardens are only open for another month, and they'll be closing again on September the 17th. This is Siddharth with camera person AK, DD India, New Delhi.
Blooming blossoms out there. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at DD India Live. And we will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.